everyone! Welcome once again to Flash Discussions. I am Captain Logan, and with me today are, as always, my two co-hosts. It's Torrey.
Hey, guys.
And beware the Steve Baxi.
Hello, everybody.
All right, today we are talking about the 12th episode of The Flash, Crazy for You. And before we get started, because we were not able to go live this week, there are a couple of questions about this show in particular that were sent to me over email that I want to go ahead and talk about before we get into the episode. So let's go ahead and do that real quick. The first one is from Useless on YouTube, and he writes, how do... Well, no, it's actually clever because his last name is like use something, and it's an E, so it's useless with an E. But anyway, yeah, but you're right. It still sounds a little bit self-deprecating. So anyway, Useless on YouTube writes, but he's not useless today because he's contributing to the show. How do the people held in the prisons on both this and Arrow eat or go to the bathroom? There seems to be no staff, and they have never showed it. And then he says, thanks. You're welcome. So this is a question that I keep asking, and it's kind of driving me crazy, and apparently we're just not supposed to ask questions because it's a comic booky show. Does it bother you guys? Can we kind of look past it? Is this a world where we can have that kind of logic where we're not supposed to think about it? I say no. What do you say?
If you actually think about the things that they're doing to the supervillains in this show, it's really morally reprehensible.
It is!
Just locking people out without any sort of due process while they pretend to run around and like defend justice and stuff like that. It's really funny.
Yeah, it doesn't
bother me the whole series.
It doesn't make any sense. You look at what Barry apparently stands for. He's got a really crazy double standard.
Yeah, agreed. It's really annoying, especially when you get stuff like reoccurring villains, like today with Pied Piper, that DC's Colossus a few episodes ago, where they break out of prison and they're wearing the exact same outfits and everything. You have to wonder, are they just going to be in there for months, just being tortured with no food, no bathroom, not even a change of clothes?
Yeah, you can kind of get away with it when it's a supervillain that's in some other sort of form, like if they're just like perpetually gaseous or something. And we've seen that in things. But in this, a lot of the time they're just like a regular person and they have superpowers. But they're not. But they're usually in normal human form. I don't know, man. I feel like this is very hypocritical on Flash's part.
Yeah, it works better for Ollie because, he has no morals at this point.
Yeah, and early on, when I thought that these shows were a little more sophisticated than they are, and we were actually talking more about all the cool thematic and story stuff they were doing, and now it's kind of degenerated more into just, that was okay, but here's the stuff that didn't work. Back then, I was talking a lot about, and Dan was just nodding and smiling because he hasn't watched as much Arrow. I was talking a lot about the, just like that, actually. I was talking a lot about the really interesting kind of comparison contrast stuff between these two shows, and where you could see that, and a lot of it I think was intentional, where clearly you could see, here is Flash's worldview versus Arrow's worldview, and they would like intentionally mirror stuff that the early episodes of Arrow did, and then it was like the total flip of it, and you can see like really cool differences between Lance and Joe, and that kind of stuff, and I love all that stuff. But then you get here, they're just doing exactly the same thing, and Flash should look at that prison that Arrow's got to land you and just be like, oh my God, you're a horrible person. But no, I guess here it's better just because it's not underground on an island, and that they actually have like light and stuff. But
they're at least above ground.
All you have to do is show. Look, all I need is to see like Caitlin bringing him food or something, and then we can like maybe if we saw like one hint of actually being humane, then we might be able to assume the rest of it. But there's not been even a hint.
Well, they had the perfect opportunity this episode because Cisco went and visited Pied Piper and tried to interrogate him about Firestorm.
He could have brought him a yogurt cup or something, but no.
Yeah. Bread and water, at least. I mean, that's what they feed people at prisons, stereotypically, so why not?
Anyway, okay, so that's the answer to your question. And Eric Wright says, "Hi, Captain Logan. It's a shame that there's no live discussion, and it was going to be my first live discussion. Anyway, I did have a question. I wanted to ask from last Arrow discussions about why they can't call Flash for help, and I was wondering if you think they should put the shows together. And I put this question here instead of on Arrow because I wanted to hear Dan's response to it too. Do you think they should put the shows together and make one show about both heroes working together and what's different, and maybe end the season they don't see eye to eye? And would you make the next season Flash versus Arrow? What do you think?" Well, first of all, I don't think we would want an entire season with two superheroes fighting each other just to shake hands at the end. But what do you guys think? Could you see that? It'll never happen because both of these shows are popular, and I could see like maybe a season where both of them crossed a whole lot. I could see that.
The problem with the Flash is he's just a problem in general in like everything that he's in, because if you take his powers to their logical extent, if you like think about the things he can actually do with his powers, you don't need anyone else.
Yeah.
Crime will just cease to happen. So like him being in the Justice League is completely redundant because it's like, oh, Superman, why are you here? We don't even need you. The Flash can just take care of everything. If you like call the Flash in to solve Oliver Queen's problems, he wouldn't have anything to sit around and brood about, so you wouldn't have a show.
Yeah, and if you brought Arrow over to Flash, he'd just sit around being bored because this guy has all these superpowers, and you saw. And I'm not saying
I don't think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, and I'm not saying
I think they'd write themselves into a corner, and it would be really contrived to see the flip. Like we've already complained about how it's sort of contrived how Barry gets beat by these people, the supervillains in the show already. He'll get beat up by them, and it's like, why are you playing with the kid gloves on, Barry? You could easily end this fight in about 3 seconds. But whatever.
I mean, I'm not saying that you couldn't do a really good crossover between them and that you shouldn't. And of course, the three of us really did not like the crossover that they did, and they came up with really lame excuses to get them together when they actually got them together. So if they were together all the time, I don't know. But anyway. Steve, did you have anything to add?
No, I think Dan hit the nail on the head with that.
That was
if nothing else, bring Barry over to just beat up Ra's al Ghul, and then stop making Arrow, because it's so bad right now.
Okay.
It's so bad.
Steve, how do you really feel? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and now just put 15 minutes on the clock, because I don't think this was as complex an episode. There's not as much to talk about, and we've already talked for a few minutes. Anyway, so 15 minutes on the clock. Dan, today's episode, how'd you feel about it? Best moment, worst moment? Go!
I thought this one was cool. It was... the villain was somewhat interesting. I liked the powers. It reminded me of Nightcrawler from X-Men. And I forgot to look up if this was a comic book character that I'd read in anything before the show started.
She's a Jeff Johns creation. Her name is Peekaboo.
Peekaboo, okay. Yeah, I've probably read her before in Jeff Johns' Flash run, because I read his run with Wally. I didn't read all the stuff he did with Barry after they brought him back, because Barry was boring in the comics. Yeah, her powers were somewhat interesting. I thought all the stuff with her boyfriend was really typical. Like, I saw that coming from the initial conversations they had, where she was like, "You would save me too, right?" And he's just like, I got stuff to do. And I was like, well, he's going to abandon her by the end of this episode. And it totally happened. But I did like Linda Park's introduction. She is Wally West's wife in the comics, so she's a character I like a lot. She's more of a spunky Mary Jane type character in the comics, and she was kind of like that in here. She's very confident. I like that about her. Not that Iris isn't confident, but Linda Park's much more come to her than Iris does. Maybe I'm a little bit biased because Iris is just somewhat irritating in some of the scenes she shows up in, and it's kind of superficial. But I like Linda Park's characterization. At least we'll get it. It's not like we got anything deep characterization with it here, so I could easily make her irritating moving forward. But as she was introduced here,
we're losing Dan.
Even Skype isn't safe.
Yeah, nothing is safe. Dan, are you still with us?
Hello? Yeah, can you hear me? Did I break up?
You were cutting out on us, yeah.
Okay, I was...
You're still kind
the
of...
thing with Caitlin Snow, with her walking in with the... Okay, so... Can you hear me now?
A little bit. Why don't we drop you out and have you come back right back in?
Okay.
All right, give us just 1 second. We'll try to get Dan back. Oh man, nothing is safe, Steve.
No, nothing. The internet is just an evil place.
Yeah, it is. Hi, Dan.
Hey.
Hey.
Am I still breaking up?
Well, we don't see you yet, but we can hear you. Now we can't hear or see you.
Unless he's just being really quiet.
Yeah. I don't think he is. Yeah, he looked like a spinning wheel for a second.
Can I be heard?
Yeah, I think there's some.
And can be seen.
I think there's some lag again. But Dan, go ahead and say the rest of what you were saying, and then we'll move on to Steve.
I was just saying it was kind of funny to see Caitlin Snow let loose a little bit. I thought the actress who plays her was a little over the top in how drunk she was acting, but it was rather amusing. And the thing that they did with her, the girl that's sort of uptight, walking in a really beautiful dress reminded me a lot of what they did with Felicity. And they're obviously trying to set up some kind of romantic tension between the two of them, which has the potential to set up yet another love triangle within this set of characters. Like, now we have Barry, who likes Iris, who also likes Linda, and Caitlin Snow likes Barry, and maybe Cisco likes Caitlin, and Firestorm is the former spouse of Caitlin, who she still has feelings for. It's really melodramatic.
We need a flowchart, Dan! We need a flowchart bad!
Yeah, and I hope... I mean, I know that since this is a CW show about romance and beautiful people, then that they're going to deal with all that stuff.
Yeah.
But I hope they don't do it in an irritating way. Like, this episode didn't really bother me all that much, other than, the way that Flash beat the villain was really stupid. Just knock out all the lights in a tunnel and she can't see where she's going. You can see a space in the darkness. She can still go there.
Not only could you see a space in the darkness, but you had headlights!
Yeah, it reminds me of that Fantastic Four cartoon where Reed Richards makes a wooden gun and Magneto is defeated because he can't control it. He's like, oh, my God! It was that little name.
I think they broke out
Jordan Allen Scott trapped in a yellow forest.
I think they broke out the headlights.
In that Justice League movie they made where Batman's contingency plan was to make Hal Jordan cry in a cave, and it worked.
Yeah.
It was that levels of lame. So that those are my big criticisms. The show could go on a place where I might not enjoy it moving forward. Caitlin was a little over the top, and the villain was rather lame. But I don't know. I had fun with this one. I was just happy to see Linda Park. To be honest, I like her a lot.
Okay, go ahead, Steve.
Yeah, I'm gonna echo Dan. I got a lot of messages on Twitter and on YouTube, people saying that I can't wait to see what you think of this episode because we thought it was garbage. And I'm like, I don't know. I thought it was okay. I don't think it was offensively bad or anything. It was just kind of filler. The big thing for me here was Barry's dad knows he's the Flash. And I love the way they handled that. That was my absolute favorite part of this episode. Going off from last week to where Joe was talking to Barry and Barry's telling him he doesn't have to compete with Barry's idols. And now moving forward to having Barry's real dad realize he's the Flash and be understanding of it and not overcomplicate it, not make it overdramatic, almost like a Commissioner Gordon wink nudge kind of relationship. I really like that. That was my favorite part. The villain was what was really hard to get through the episode for. She's rip-off Bonnie Clyde Nightcrawler, and she's a really bad actress. I didn't enjoy her at all. Her powers were interesting enough, but they didn't use them creatively. And Barry could have beat her 10 times over, but we were just prolonging the episode. So that wasn't great. It's a harmless episode. I like the chemistry between Caitlin and Barry. I think that's fine. But as you guys mentioned, it's almost soap opera level of love triangles now. And I know they're going to take it to an absurd degree because it's the CW. And I don't want them to because there's some genuinely nice natural stuff going on here.
Yeah, I'm with you, Steve, on the love triangle stuff, and I guess I'll start there. I hate watching an episode like this on a show on this network where I am almost lulled into really liking a relationship, but then I can see the future a little bit, you know? And I feel like Wells right now, where I'm like, I know the future.
Yeah, you're like Barry from the last episode. You can predict the future.
Yeah, and what's irritating about it for me, I really enjoyed all the stuff with Caitlin at the beginning. First of all, let me mention that suddenly I like this character in a way that I never did before, and I liked that she is surprisingly reasonable about the whole Cisco lock-in Firestorm, or not Firestorm, but the guy who will become Firestorm in the chamber, and he finally gets that off his chest, and I thought they might play it for easy drama, and then they didn't, and that was my favorite moment in the episode. I thought it was really great the way she handled that, and it was surprisingly fair and reasonable about that. But the problem is almost the same thing that I have with Barry and Felicity. The chemistry between them is really good, and Barry doesn't jump at the chance to date her, and I don't know why. It's for no good reason at all, except just to prolong relationship stuff. And if you've got to have episodes like this that are so focused on relationship stuff, in the middle of, like really potentially scary supervillain stuff. I mean, we still have Reverse Flash out there somewhere. For a while, he was like, I'm going to focus just on that and not on anything else. Now it's been a while. He's not talking about that at all, whatsoever. And so now suddenly we're focused really hard on relationship stuff and putting all that other stuff in the back burner, and it's kind of unbelievable. You get to the end, and Steve, I didn't like the stuff with Barry's dad as much as I wanted to, because I was comparing it too much to the stuff with Iris. When Barry's dad is able to deduce that he's the Flash just because he's a thinking person, and anybody in that situation would be able to figure that out. But then Iris, well, yeah, I mean, and it was well handled, but it looks more like a coin flip, okay, heads, he'll go ahead and know now, when then Flash shows up to Iris just at the time that she's been hoping that she can get some story for him so she can keep her new job, and she doesn't even begin to wonder that if this is maybe a little bit too coincidental, well, we're making her look really stupid. At the same time as Flash's dad looks like a normal, reasonable person, which makes it all feel more arbitrary to me. And I hate that!
The icing on the cake, too, is that Iris gets a picture of the Flash's face and puts it on the front page of the newspaper she works at, and Barry's dad realizes it, but Iris doesn't. After he's had two interactions with the Flash.
Also, there is no...
Ted, how many now?
I know that it's 2015 and the technology is getting a lot better, and we could probably do at least...
There's no way she got that picture.
We could probably do at least 5 minutes of a live show from this phone before it broke down now. That's how far we've gotten, which is great. But there's no way she got that picture.
No way.
Real quick, I have a couple other questions I would like to throw out real quick. Kind of negative stuff. I like this episode overall. Again, mostly just because I really like the Caitlin stuff. But then I'm like, it's probably not going to go where we might like it to, and it will be because Barry's not being a real person. Anyway, but I have a couple other questions. Okay. This is my worst moment. This is the biggest, even over that, this is my worst moment. Why do all the villains get to know Barry's secret identity? If they get put in their little makeshift prison, now it's okay for them to know. We just had a guy break out. And we're like so confident that I guess this is the only reason I can see that we would do it. We're so confident that the villains are never going to break out that it's totally okay for one that did not know before that Barry Allen was the Flash to see his face now.
Yeah, and they did that with DC's Colossus, and they killed him off conveniently so that no one would know. But now it's just like all bets are off.
Yeah. Why did we do that? And we don't even have the excuse with Peekaboo of accidentally go someplace that she doesn't know where she's going and like get stuck in a wall or anything, because her powers are apparently a lot safer than Nightcrawler's. Because if it's dark, she just can't teleport at all. I was like, wow, that is Nightcrawler would be so jealous of this girl, right? Because if he can't see where he's going, he has the temptation to try anyway. She can't even try. Wow. Oh, okay.
Imagine if that girl like had an accident, like she was and she was blinded, like Matt Murdock. She would just be a normal person. Her powers would cease to exist.
Here's another question: when Hartley gets out and runs off, why is catching the teleporter a bigger priority than catching him? Right? Like, she's just stealing stuff. Why? Like, he's a lot more dangerous, I think. Like, why are we more concerned about
definitely.
that? And I think the way...
She's a petty criminal with a crush on a guy that's a jerk face.
You can make the argument that it's because Flash, with his powers, is probably the only person that could catch this teleporter, but he's probably also the only person that could deal with Hartley very effectively. I don't understand... Just because he's so brilliant, I don't understand why it... And the answer, of course, is just, well, this is the episode where he catches a teleporter, right? Like, that's... yeah, that really bugged me. Also, this is minor, but could we all agree that watching people throw up on screen is never pleasant? And that it shouldn't be done unless the realism of the moment is really important to the narrative somehow? I don't want to see that. I'm just saying.
Yeah, rather than just using it as a
That didn't
joke.
really bother me.
Okay. I don't like that. It bothers me.
My favorite thing in this episode by far is Gorilla Grod.
Yeah, of course it is.
Seeing him,
Of course.
by far, because Gorilla Grod's the man.
We have
And I
come
love
a
him.
long way with TV CG, but I don't know if they're going to be able to keep contriving ways to put him in the dark, because that CG is going to always look better in the dark.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's
I mean, maybe he'll show up every time the teleporter shows up, and that's how she'll get beat, and Grod will like be there somehow. But I really hope they make Grod talk eventually. He didn't seem like he was capable of speech when we saw him, but
Well, he was
hopefully
writing
he's
his own name, so I think
That's
it's
true.
potentially possible.
I hope it's like Planet of the Apes, or like current franchise Planet of the Apes, where he can talk a little bit, but like maybe gradually he gets better and better at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and Gorilla Grod's always been sort of a lot. The character has always sort of been about a lot of the ideas that those movies put forth, which is what I always liked about him. So I hope they do some of that stuff for sure. That would be really cool.
Well, that's why now is the right time for it. Yeah, I mean, we're right in the middle of the Planet of the Apes movies.
Sure.
I think, yeah, that would be really cool. Did you guys have a favorite quote?
No.
Okay.
Not particularly. I mean, them singing was kind of hilarious. I noticed that they contrived some sort of reason for Barry to sing because Grant Gustin has been in Glee before and he has like a singing voice, so I figured that's why they put that in there. And Caitlin Snow, she was drunk, but she was not nearly as good as Barry at singing at all.
She used to sing on Disney Channel, so that explains that.
I have been to a lot of karaoke places, and that is one of the most standard and cliche songs that get picked for duets. And as soon as they did that, I was just like, really? That's the most, like, everybody picks that. And I mean, I guess it's, well, they've never been to a karaoke place before. So, but what irritated me was that everybody in the audience is turns around and starts watching, like, oh boy, we're gonna get a show, and there should have been at least one person that's there all the time that went, this song again. Ah!
See, I was hoping they were going to sing, like, Killing in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine or something like that. You know, that would have been awesome.
I just want Rage Against the Machine. I just want to see Barry Allen get up there and go, wake up! Today's Wacky Cisco shirt is the evolution of Nintendo. I want that shirt. That was so cool. Lots of video game shirts. Oh, I didn't throw out my quote. My favorite quote was, I don't always dress like a high school principal. That was pretty good.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Because she does always dress like a high school principal, and I never really thought of that. I didn't have a trivia question for this one. Just nothing jumped out at me. Dan, Steve, did you guys have trivia questions?
Does.
All right, go ahead, Dan.
In the comic books, Linda Park hosts a show similar to The View called The Scene, and there's other reporters from the DC Universe. And one of them that's rather notable, and I want to know who is one of her other co-hosts on the show.
Cool. Steve.
Okay, so Peekaboo in the comics, when she first gets her powers, she tries to steal something really particular. What does she try to steal?
Okay. We are over time for the show, so do you guys have any other major things we need to mention before we go ahead and just throw out the answers to the trivia questions? We just need to get there right away.
I just need to reiterate how awesome Grod is, but other than that, I don't have anything else to say.
I was excited about that too, Dan. I thought that was really fun, and I like that we're progressively getting closer and closer to it. I think once it finally happens, it's gonna maybe be a bigger deal than if we just did it right away. I mean, because like in the pilot, we already had some hint of it, and then it was quite a few episodes ago now when we got the last hint of it. So that's pretty cool. I like that.
Yeah,
Is it too much to hope for that we won't get Gorilla City?
We've talked about that.
That would be really cool. I'd love to see Gorilla City. I mean, I think it's cool that they are building up to him, like you said, because people forget like Grod is one of the major Flash villains. Like if you were to compare it, he'd be like the Riddler or Two-Face to a Batman, that kind of thing. Grod is a big deal for Flash, so it's cool that they're kind of setting him up and building him up like they've done with Cold and Reverse Flash.
Guys, since we do all these in the same night now, I've done it again. My computer swears that we've been talking about Agent Carter. But we haven't. We've been talking about this show. Anyway. All right, well, go ahead and give us the answers to your trivia questions, and then we will bid everybody farewell that is not watching the giantly huge long video. Dan, what is the answer to your question? I'm waiting with bated breath.
The other one of the other co-hosts was Vicky Vale.
Okay.
Cool.
That is cool. Steve?
The answer to mine is a kidney. She tries to steal a kidney for her dad from a hospital.
Oh, okay. That is very specific.
It's also kind of creepy. Because where was she going to put it?
What if she went to the hospital at night? Oh, no!
Well, then if she's in CG, she'd look better than if she was in...
She actually caused an explosion while trying to teleport and killed a surgeon, so there's that.
Wow. Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, on that note, everybody, thanks a bunch for watching. We're all out of time, as my phone can attest. And anyway, if you're watching this on the separate video, thanks a lot for joining us. We're gonna move on to our next show right now, and of course, these should all be uploaded around the same time. So feel free to jump around and watch other shows. Thanks a lot for watching. We sure appreciate it. We'll be back with you again next week with Flash discussions. Hopefully, we'll be back live at that point. I am Captain Logan, and thanks Dan and Steve. Appreciate you guys.
No problem.
Thanks for having us.
Bye.